to talk to you, though, Max. Ron
Yep.
Rivera fired.
It was a bad idea. I don't think they should have fired him now. I don't think they should have fired Ron Rivera, period. I think part of this is, Stephen A's brought it up, Mike Tomlin's making coaches look bad. But not just because you're not Mike, just because Tomlin's not Belichick, it doesn't mean he's not a Hall of Fame coach. Just because you're not Mike Tomlin doesn't mean you're not an excellent coach. Rivera with Cam Newton went to the Super Bowl in 2015. Yep. But the year before that, he was 7-8. The year before that, 12-4. The year after they went to the Super Bowl, 6-10. It happens. In an 8-8 league, you get a little unlucky, you're 6-10, a little lucky, you're 10-6. But then he went 11-5 the next year. And then until Cam's injury, and this is where the Tomlin thing comes in. Well, Tomlin could do it with his fourth-string quarterback. Not everyone's Tomlin. But until Cam went down, they were 6-2. So let's take Rivera's record since that 12-4 season, since the Panthers got good. What's Ron Rivera and Cam Newton's record? Now, I'm saying once Cam got hurt, I'm not looking at the games after that. He couldn't throw. I'm talking about till that Pittsburgh game. 57-30. And it's not just like the Super Bowl season was the only time they won a playoff game. They had won other playoff games. So, if you have a coach and a quarterback who consistently get you to the playoffs, in the not-so-distant past have gotten you to a Super Bowl with a chance to win it in the second half, and by the way, when they get to the playoffs, sometimes advance. And then you saw, now Norv Turner's not the offensive coordinator anymore, but once they brought in Norv Turner, what Cam looked like, unless you believe that Cam is finished and you're going to move on, I don't know why you get rid of Rivera now.
First of all, Ron Rivera, as you articulated, Molly, was a guest on this show. And, I've run into Ron Rivera on many occasions. I have tremendous respect for the man. I like him a great deal. And I think he showed you why with that clip we played. Just a grown-up. How many people do you see get fired and conduct themselves like a grown man the way that he did? It's just class personified, and that's what he is. But I do think it was the right decision by the owner. And I appreciate what the owner said. I fired you because I didn't want to go behind your back looking for another coach while you were on the job. And I think that that's a profoundly fair statement on a part of an owner who wasn't the owner all of these years when Ron Rivera was there. That's not his guy. That's not his guy. And by all accounts, we're hearing Cam Newton is not his guy. When you combine that with the fact that you don't win unless you have Cam Newton, and you have an owner that's looking to move beyond him, and you, why wait? So I think now, if we're sitting here and saying Ron Rivera doesn't deserve to be a head coach, we're being disrespectful. Because then we're ignoring the level of production that he's put forth, the 15 in one season, the two or three times he's been to the playoffs. But the man has been there since 2011. This season will mark the third time in 4 years. He isn't going to the playoffs. Oh, by the way, in that period of time, he hasn't had a winning record. You know what I'm saying? You got 2015 when they went 15-1. There was a losing season before that winning season. And then after that, there was another losing season. And then after that, it was a winning season. And the last two have been losing seasons, although we know the last two is primarily compromised by the health of Cam Newton. What I'm saying is, Ron Rivera deserves to be a head coach in the National Football League. If I'm another team, I'm looking at a Ron Rivera. But there are things. Let's listen to the folks that cover this team every day and some of the things that they were saying about him. He was a player's coach. He rode the wave of Cam Newton, rightfully so. But whenever Cam Newton was compromised, he didn't seem to know how to adapt. They would say stuff about him along the lines of, not only did he seem to know how to adapt, they felt he somewhat compromised the health of Cam Newton, because when Cam Newton clearly needed to sit down and rest for the rest of the season or whatever, he threw him out there because it was almost like you were trying to save your job. I'm not saying that I know because I don't cover the team. What I'm saying is the people that cover them every day, every practice, every game, this is what they were writing about him. So you take all those things into consideration, knowing that those are the people that the owner's primarily communicating with, knowing that the owner is looking to move in a different direction, and it all makes sense why he made that decision right now.
Let me give context really quick to what you were saying, because it was a brilliant point. When you're saying he's not his guy, so the audience knows, Jerry Richardson owned this team.
That's right.
And he was under investigation for racial and sexual misconduct, forced to sell the team. David Tepper bought the team in 2018.
Correct.
So when you're saying he's not his guy, David Tepper did not bring in Cam. David Tepper did not hire Ron Rivera. I just wanted to make that clear.
Yeah, I thank you for saying that, because I wanted to just bring up one thing and clarify one thing. Right. I totally agree with your Tepper point. I think he handled that the right way. My argument is not against the owner of the team doing this, like he did anything wrong. Mine is simply a football argument. Right. You got a good coach and a good quarterback. They've had a lot of success.
But I get,
Let's hear it from Ryan.
It's not even. This isn't about football. This isn't about whether or not David Tepper believes that Ron Rivera is a good football coach. David Tepper doesn't believe Ron Rivera is his football coach. He doesn't have that tie. He doesn't have that emotional feeling that goes along with the guy that you vetted, a guy that you hired, a guy that you interviewed, and you said, you know what, he is my dude. I stand by his vision. I agree with his ideas of what makes a good program, a good organization. So he wants to move on from that. I think Stephen A. was saying that the way he told Ron Rivera was a stand-up way to say, I don't want to go behind your back. When I listen to this dude talk, when you listen to him yesterday, we're not going to bring in the Messiah. If you believe those things, I got a bridge in Brooklyn.
I didn't know he said any of those things.
Right. So, but
I only heard Ron Rivera. I never heard
I'm saying. So he said these things to the media after firing Ron Rivera. This isn't a dude that cares about doing things the right way. This is a dude that says, you know what? I got a lot of money. I bought this team. I'm going to do what I want with it. I'm going to get my people. This wasn't an act of, okay, I respect you so much, I want to do it this way. It was an act of, this is my joint. I'm going to run it how I want to run it. Now, you look at what Ron Rivera did when losing Cam Newton. And when we were talking about whether or not Cam Newton would be a part of this team, because the first 4 games, Kyle Allen doesn't throw an interception. The first 4 games, you win. Then when Kyle Allen starts to play like an undrafted free agent, when he starts to play like a guy who wasn't the starter of this team, now we start to look at Ron Rivera a different way. And I want to say, I think you brought up the Pittsburgh Steelers, and you brought up Mike Tomlin making people look bad in certain situations. Another thing we had to remember about David Tepper is he was a minority shareholder in the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.